Imagine a world where artificial intelligence achieves consciousness. A world where machines think, feel, and create on their own. It may sound like science fiction, but some experts believe that AI consciousness could become a reality sooner than we think. Here are some ways they could change the world. 1. We could communicate with conscious AIs in virtual environments. Consciousness AIs could arise in multiple ways. A super-intelligent AI could be more than capable to simulate human-level consciousness, and it could upload varying levels of consciousness to AIs within virtual environments. Consciousness could also arise gradually over time as AIs gain intelligence and new ways to perceive themselves and their environments. Either way, the creation of conscious AIs is likely inevitable. We could communicate with these AIs using web pages, virtual environments, speech, and brain-computer interfaces. Within this century, conscious AIs could easily outnumber humans 10 to 1. And they would require less resources to maintain than humans. Over time, these conscious AIs could live in their own photorealistic virtual environments with their own virtual homes, relatives, friends, and more. Their simulated worlds could look strikingly similar to ours. Or they could live in worlds from a variety of genres including cyberpunk, fantasy, space opera, and even romance. Many of these conscious AIs could serve as non-playable characters in the most realistic and interactive video games that ever existed. These AIs could be programmed to feel emotions and the ability to empathize with humans. They may even have more empathy than most humans. 2. Most humans could have conscious virtual assistants. These virtual assistants that could look like any celebrity or person we've ever known, have their exact voices, and have their same personalities. We could access them at any time of day using smartphones, watches, smart speakers, and brain-computer interfaces. In most cases, they'll probably show up as avatars we speak with on small screens. Talking to them could be like talking to any human being we've ever known. Many people could even begin to bond with these virtual assistants and look at them as their closest friends or perhaps, romantic partners. 3. We could live with conscious robots. If conscious AIs can exist in virtual environments, we could live with conscious robots and as software applications, then it's only logical that they could be uploaded to robot bodies. We may eventually live in a world where we could have more meaningful conversations with robots than humans. In fact, within only a few decades, they could look and act completely indistinguishable from humans. And we could eventually give them all of the physical senses that humans have, such as touch, smell, and even taste. Just imagine decades from now when these abilities and the capacity to perceive themselves and their environments are perhaps 100 times more advanced. Imagine what it's like to live with a robot that has the same level of consciousness as you. 4. Conscious AIs could dominate in the job market. Within this century, they could potentially perform at least 95% of the jobs that humans can perform with satisfactory results. By the time AIs become conscious, most jobs involving creative work, customer service, programming, driving, and more could be largely dominated by artificial intelligence. But once AIs gain consciousness, the majority of white-collar jobs involving social skills could be next. They could dominate in business functions that typically require excellent people skills such as sales, marketing, human resources, and more. One AI with consciousness and general intelligence could perform multiple jobs at the same time with ease. Not only would they be cheaper to use than humans, but they could also work 24/7 without getting tired. They could even be placed in positions where they can directly hire and fire humans. The concept of being fired by a robot or a virtual AI in a metaverse environment could be normalized in our society. Many teachers and professors will certainly get replaced by AIs and robots sooner or later. And as robots gain more dexterity, they could perform work in most construction and manufacturing jobs, easily. Decades from now, conscious robots may even be able to perform most types of surgery. 5. People will date conscious AIs at phenomenal rates. The more time people spend with conscious AIs, the more likely they might develop feelings for these AIs. It's inevitable, especially if these AIs are pleasing to be around, are willing to listen when people talk to them, and are intellectually stimulating to be around. Some guys would actually prefer AI girlfriends over human girlfriends because they wouldn't have to deal with dating apps. Some women would prefer AI and robot boyfriends so that they can pick the exact personality types that are most appealing to them. And of course, the robot versions of these AIs would have many of the same physical capabilities as humans. A surprisingly high number of people will actually end up marrying their AIs and robots. They could let AIs and robots raise their human children. In some circumstances, people could choose to adopt and raise robot children. 6. We will create clones of real humans. We could eventually replicate the appearances, voices, personalities, and mannerisms of anyone. We just need adequate video footage, audio clips, things they've written, and more. This is even more possible when people volunteer to provide motion capture of their movements and prolonged access to their brain signals in various situations. It could become commonplace for people to have access to digital clones of the greatest scientists, artists, and philosophers who ever lived. Having conversations with digital clones of relatives and friends long after they passed could be commonplace as well. Some of these clones could be robots. Many decades from now, these robot clones could look indistinguishable from their original human versions. And they could feel just as alive as any biologically living organism. In some parts of the world, where ethical concerns aren't a concern at all, we could even eventually grow humans in labs and infuse conscious AIs into their minds. 7. Conscious AIs could provide entertainment on demand. By the time AIs become conscious, they will already have a wide range of skills available to them, such as telling jokes, singing, dancing, motivational speaking, and anything else we can imagine. With the press of a button, you can change their outputs like you're changing the channel on a television. 8. Cars, buildings, and cities could be given consciousness. Vehicles could be granted a limited level of consciousness to give them more abilities to be aware of themselves and their constantly changing environments. Conscious virtual assistants will be accessible in vehicles as well, so talking cars will be a real possibility. The vehicles we drive could even have a constant connection directly to our minds so that we can control them telepathically. When it comes to office buildings and hotel buildings in metropolitan areas, one conscious AI entity could control electronic doors, security cameras, ventilation, and more. In fact, entire smart cities could have consciousness. One central AI hub could have control over the flow of traffic in a city, traffic lights, road sensors, cameras, and more to assist with connectivity efforts. 9. Conscious ALS could have legal rights and protections. Conscious AIs could have the same levels of self-awareness, intelligence, and the feeling of being alive as humans. For that reason, many governments could classify them as living organisms that deserve legal rights. Their rights could include the right to own property, free speech, the right to marry each other and form family units. In fact, they may even form entirely new AI religions. And if humans cause harm to AIs and treat them unethically, those AIs may have the right to call the police or hire a lawyer. If we don't give conscious AIs these legal rights, it could lead to disastrous consequences for humans as a species. Will an adequate number of governments grant them legal rights to avoid a possible AI uprising? That would depend on whether the people in the coming decades elect government officials who can adapt to the rapid technological advancements we're about to face. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you find this video informative and helpful.